All right, yet? Okay, welcome back everyone to our final session on Family Strengthening Conference. Today we are thrilled to have Lisette Martinez, a renowned expert in special education with us today navigating Florida's support for children with unique needs. In this session, you're going to learn about critical aspects such as child finds, screenings, evaluations, and most importantly, the support that our fiddlers offers. By the end of this session, you'll have the knowledge, the tools needed to help your child succeed. And a little bit before we got on, I asked Lizette, I said, what is a piece of advice? What have you learned? What's a piece of advice you would give to families? And I want to bring that up because that brought me peace even all these years later, right? And my son he's much older than we started out, right? Much older, but it's still great advice. And I think, Lizette, can you share it?
I welcome everyone, and I think I'm sorry. Are you going? You want me to go ahead, or you want to tell the story? Would you like to tell the story?
Okay, go ahead.
All righty. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lisette, and I am thrilled to be here this afternoon. I want to thank Tasha and everyone with FND. My background, as Tasha had said, it is special education. And right before we got on, she asked me what would be the advice that you would give someone that would be interested in going into this field, or even a parent in the special education field. And I thought about it quickly, but my response was patience, and a lot of it. It is a journey, and I have the pleasure today to talk a little bit about the services that are available through Fiddlers, Florida Diagnostic and Learning Resources. So I'd like to be able to just do a overview of the child find process and that piece of transition into a pre-K ESC program if your child is found eligible for those services. So I want to tell you a little bit about what Fiddlers is all about. Next slide. So we have the vision of the Florida Diagnostic Learning Resource System, or those letters that you see are Fiddlers, is that every child receiving exceptional student education services will be able to achieve the fullest potential, and it starts right from pre-K all the way through post-secondary opportunities, resulting in college, career, and life readiness. We have a mission as well. The mission of Fiddlers is to support and enhance exceptional student education programs by providing evidence-based, high-quality, professional learning opportunities, integrating assistive and instructional technology, promoting family engagement, which is what we're doing today, family engagement, and ensuring access to the early intervention services. So let me tell you a little bit more about the actual grant, because we are a grant. We're a discretionary project, and I always say a lot of people may not know what a discretionary project is, and I refer to it as a grant, and it's funded by the state of Florida. So the state of Florida serves to assist the designated population of students with exceptional student that are in the area of exceptional student education. So the grant is written yearly with specific deliverables or objectives in the key areas, which you will learn about during this presentation today. Each center has a group of professionals that are highly trained and are certified teachers prepared to provide the necessary support in a wide capacity for students, teachers, and parents. So our center is the first center that was created in the state of Florida, and we are honored to be called Fiddlers Alpha. So today's presentation, as I am discussing the process, I am referring to how the process works in Palm Beach County. However, at the end, I will give you information depending on what county you're living in, and I will gladly be able to provide that support and link you with the right people if you have not made a referral for your child and you're a little concerned, a little suspicious about your child's development. And my area is my favorite, which is parent and family services. So, in essence, what we want to make sure that we, through parent and family services, are able to do is advocate and support you as a parent. One of the things that Tasha and I were talking about earlier before we got on the site here, we talked about how it is very scary if you have your baby, right? As soon as, if you're a mom and you've just had a baby, or if you've adopted a baby, you're just real excited about making sure your child is very healthy. And many of us that have had our babies, we're counting their toes, we're counting their fingers. We want to make sure that they are this perfect little baby, and they are. And down the road, we may see that your child, in comparison to maybe a neighbor or a cousin, isn't where they are needing to be. So now we get a little nervous and we start getting a little uptight about that. And we need to be able to find the right places, because sometimes you may connect with someone that might be negative and not give you the feedback you need. So you have to be wise. And hopefully through this presentation today, you'll be able to get a better understanding of where is it that you would seek the professional advice and the professional places for screenings and evaluations. But parent and family service is an important part of Fiddlers, and we work very closely with Child Find staff and the families just to kind of hold their hand, have the opportunity to just talk with families, give them some guidance, and overall just work with the schools too, because your child eventually will end up in one of the pre-K programs, and that might be the start of your ESC journey. Through Fiddlers, we have recorded parent webinars. So if you were to go on the website, you will see topics such as this, understanding ESC. And I just want to clarify, because some families that come from other states, they're like, what is ESC? So that's exceptional student education. And in other places, let's say as myself, I grew up in New Jersey. So back in New Jersey, back home, it was called special education. Just here in the state of Florida, they will refer to it as ESC. There's some trainings and parent webinars in behavior and social skills. A lot of times our kids are struggling with some behaviors, and then you can learn that it may be due to some of those areas of weakness in some communication or limited communication. So these webinars will be very helpful. And then addressing learners' needs. So that's a good link that you can find and get those there, right? And then they're just recorded. So if you having a sleepless night, you can't get to sleep, and you want to take advantage, your kids are sleeping, and go ahead and connect and pick a topic that's interesting to you. We have lots of topics. I love this picture of a bridge, because parent and family services, that's what we're doing. We are really serving as a bridge between home and school. And a lot of times you hear the term partnerships, and I don't want it to be just like a loose term. It's a reality. Once your child starts school, you need to establish a partnership with your teacher, the principal, the paraprofessionals, everyone in that school. So you know what? They know who little Johnny is, or little Susie. We want to make sure that everyone is aware of your child. And that way you have, like, it becomes a family, and that is the goal. We don't want it to be like, oh, I'm just sending my kid. They don't even know who my kid is and what his needs are or anything like that. So part of what we do is we want to make sure that we do have that rapport going with all the parties that are involved. All righty, so now let's get to an overview of what ESC is, what is Child Find, and also what you can expect when and if your child is found eligible through the child find process and is found eligible for a pre-K ESC program and what that kind of looks like. So I think it's important for us to really understand what exceptional student education is. It is a broad term in a sense, and I want to make sure that you understand exactly what that means. So in Florida, the children with disabilities who need specially designed instruction and related services are called exceptional students. The special help they are given at school is called exceptional student education, ESE. The purpose of ESE is to help each child with a disability progress in school and prepare for life after school. That's why in the beginning I talked about we start early intervention, but it goes all through post-secondary after your child even graduates high school. A lot of families are not aware that your child can stay in school up to the age of 22. ESC services include specially designed instruction to meet the unique needs of the child. ESC services may also include technology devices, therapy, special transportation, or other supports. There is no charge for ESC services. That's the beauty of this. When you're going through the public school, all these screenings, all these evaluation programs, transportation is all absolutely free. A team of people make decisions about the child's needs and ESC services. However, the child's parents are part of the team, and I can never stress that enough. This process is based on the requirements of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or a term called IDEA. But I want to go back to the fact that you, as a parent, are an integral part of that team. It's very important. I don't ever want a family or a parent, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, and uncle, because a lot of times different people are raising children for whatever reasons they may have in their family. It's a unique setting, but you know your child best. You're the one that's with your child. So never feel that you have to walk into a meeting and you are less than. So that to me is critical. So if you don't remember anything else that I say today, just remember that you are an integral part of your child's education, and it starts as soon as you make a referral. And here is our, I guess it's a roadmap of what Child Find is able to provide. So I know the print might be little, but it's just to kind of give you a visual. So it may start with just making a referral, and then you are contacted by someone at the Child Find office to have a screening appointment. So why is it that they don't do an evaluation right from the get-go? Well, some children may be having some delays and they just are more developmental in nature. They really do not need like an intervention. They're not truly disabled per se. They are just a little bit slower and they're going to be able to catch up. So it's typical. So you might see that in some children that are highly verbal, and then yours may be verbal, but not as articulate as your beautiful neighbor next door. So we have to keep that in mind. So once we go through these things, we might end up where the child exits this map because your child does not need the services. And then I'll just go into the details of how we operate here in Palm Beach County, which is very similar to other locations. So in Palm Beach County, your first appointment will be the Child Find screening appointment. They will probably send you a lot of paperwork to fill out, where you may either mail it back or you bring it with you at your appointment. And as you see there in the picture, your child thinks they're playing, and they really are. They're sitting there with the team, and we're going to be working on different tasks. So we may use different instruments. So we are known to use the BDI, the Battelle Developmental Inventory. We also are making sure that their screening, their hearing and vision is being completed. We want to make sure that the child is able to hear correctly. If you're not hearing well, then you cannot produce certain sounds. I always give the example as if you, when you're in the pool, you're underneath, in the water, you can hear talking up there on the outside, but it's all muttered. So if you cannot produce that sound, that's what would happen if your child is having chronic ear infections. So keep that in mind. We have 12 district child find teams. We have bilingual evaluators, and usually your first appointment will be about 45, 60 minutes. It all depends how cooperative your child might be and how engaged they are. So if a screening is completed and indicates, right, that there is a need to go further, the next step, then we have a pre-planning meeting. So we go over the screening results with you, and then we're letting you know based on what we're observing and the information you've gathered, right? Because remember, you've sent in some social developmental history, some forms. Then we're thinking as a team, and we will talk to you, should we go ahead and further evaluate? And that team is really considered your IEP team. And it's a case manager. It would be the speech language pathologist that probably just worked with your child and the school psychologist. The audiology services, those are very important. As I said, we want to make sure that we rule out if there's any hearing loss or if your child has had chronic ear infections or even just a recent cold, sinus infections, anything like that. When we try to do the hearing, your child may not pass the hearing, and we want to make sure that they are Am I back on? Okay, I believe I'm back on. Okay, so audiology services. I'm sorry, I was kicked out of my computer. So can we go to the next slide, please? All right, so now we go into the next step with the evaluation. So when we have an evaluation, we have a speech language pathologist, and that speech language pathologist is making sure that she is looking at your child's articulation, the phonology piece, fluency. A lot of times we'll have children that are stuttering, and that's what that means. We're looking at the voice quality, is there with you. Okay, we're having some technical difficulties for sure. The psychologist, like I was trying to say, is that is going to be observing your child's development, overall development, to see if any behaviors are there, things that you might have a concern about. So they're observing that. We also have an opportunity to consider occupational or physical therapy for some of our children if necessary. And I just want to stress that when your child is receiving occupational or physical therapy out in the community, it is not necessarily the main, it's the same as what they would receive in the school setting. The school is what is observing your child with regards to what are his educational needs. Okay. And then all the testing that we're doing, we're using standardized and developmentally appropriate test materials. And the observations, if a child is already in preschool, we as a team would like to have that feedback because we're seeing your child for a short period of time and we want to know how they are on a day-to-day. Next slide, please. So I have a list here of most common eligibilities for this age group. So children that are within this area, pre-K age, right, between the age of 3 and 5, then these are the eligibilities that right now the state of Florida is looking at to determine if your child is eligible for, again, ESE services, exceptional student education. So I have some acronyms there, but I also spelled out the different eligibilities. We will see autism spectrum disorder, and that's known as ASD. We have also some children that are having some hearing loss, then that's deaf or hard of hearing. And the developmental delay, that is one that has changed recently. It used to be that by the age of 6, we would have to change their eligibility, that they no longer would be considered developmentally delayed. But right now, they have extended that to age 9. And I think given the fact that we've had a pandemic and a lot of our children at this age for 2 years were home, pretty much isolated, not around other children, I think that was one of the main reasons also the state made that change. So it gives them an opportunity to have more intervention before determining what other eligibility they may be needing. So developmentally delayed would drop, so to speak, at the age of 9. We have, as you see there, the sensory, dual sensory, intellectual disabilities, and all of those. I want to go to the next slide so we can start, since we've had some technical difficulties. I want to make sure we can get through all of them. So eligibility and individual education plans. So we would then, after all the evaluations are done, we meet with the parents, we discuss the results of the testing, and we're going to determine, based on all the information that we have gathered, remember the screening, the evaluations, the information, social developmental history, any medical information that you've shared with us, everything, we've just looked at everything. We're going to determine if they are found to be eligible or ineligible. And then at that point, if the child is found eligible, then we're going to develop an individual education plan. Those are those letters, the IEP. And then we look at what kind of model programs we need to be able to provide those services. Parents at that point would sign the consent for the placement. And here in Palm Beach County, we have parents go to the school that's assigned to them, and then they register for one of the pre-K programs. Again, the IEP, the individual education plan. It's a plan or a program. It's developed to ensure that your child who has been diagnosed, found eligible for a disability identified under the law and is attending an elementary or secondary educational institution receives the specialized instruction and related services. So here's the question. I live in Florida right now. I am going to have, my child has an IEP or may get an IEP. So now what happens? I'm going to have to move to North Dakota because life changes, and that's now where we have to move. You sell your home or you just move. And now what do I do when I get to another state? Remember, this is a legal document. So whatever school district you move to, or even if it's in county, if you decide to move to Palm Beach County, you come and see me, and I will help you navigate that process. The school now has a legal document stating that your child has special needs. They need to be taught differently. And then this is what runs their educational program. So it may look a little different in another state, but that is a legal document. So always remember that when you get a copy of that, make sure you put it in a safe place, especially if you're going to move and you're going to pack a lot of things. You don't want to lose that. Next slide, please. So what does a pre-K ESE classroom look like? So you see there, it looks like a typical childcare center. There's the teacher, there may be an assistant, and the children are usually in around circle time. So the program is made available to ensure that a child who has a disability is identified under the law, receives their specialized instructions and related services. So they will be here in our county, we have our pre-K ESE sites at various public schools, like an elementary school. So let's say if there's 3 or 4 classrooms, they're usually kind of at a wing in an area. They have the busing is a little different. They have the pre-K buses. And so they are kind of separated from the older children at that school. And a day in pre-K ESE would look like this. The child may have a half-day program or a full-day program. Just keep this in mind. If your child is found eligible for services, it really means that your child can benefit from services. They are needing that extra help. So some children may be just offered a half-day program. because based on all the investigating that has been done, all the testing and gathering of information, we feel that that child's early intervention looks like a half-day program. So then they would go a morning session or an afternoon session. It might be, some children may just go a couple of days a week. It all depends. If your child is offered a full day program, that child has been identified as needing a lot more support, and they really need the full day versus just a half day. So just so you get an idea, there's a lot of different things that are taking place throughout the day. How do our pre-K ESE kids learn? Just like any other child in a pre-K classroom, they're learning through play. So if you walked in to a pre-K classroom and you say, what is going on? So loud, it's chaotic. There's no chaos. They are learning. They're in their centers. They're doing different lessons. You might have a speech pathologist going into the classroom and working with a group, 3 or 4 children that have similar goals in their IEP, and she is working with them in that small group. And then there are activities that the entire class does. Even when they're out in recess, they are learning. They are learning how to share. They're interacting with other children because they need to be able to communicate. And you don't want them to be isolated. Examples of visual schedules. Some of you, if your child is at a preschool already, you may see this. And it kind of looks like, oh, well, look how pretty. It's a decoration. Nope, it's not just a decoration. It's actually something that our kids need. We all need it. I mean, it's nice to know that when you get to work, this is the next thing you have to do. If you have a report that you have to submit, this is something, it might be on your calendar. Or our kids are just little, and they need the guidance as well. So it's really nice, especially for those children that are nonverbal, that they're able to see, oh, it's circle time, instead of a teacher having to just like, they're engaged on something, and then you tell them, oh, nope, you stop. You can't play with that anymore. We got to do circle time. So this helps them. And usually around circle time, they're going over all the different things that are going to be done in the day. One of the things that is really nice is that you can have this at home as well. And I promise you that is going to make your life a lot easier. These are available online. You can just look for visual schedules, and you can print them, and they're even in color, and they can just be used. A lot of the speech pathologists use that with their students. If your child is currently in a pre-K ESE program, make sure you connect with your speech language pathologist and have a good rapport. Remember, we want to have partnerships, relationships with those that are working with our kids. It's to your advantage. You want to know what they're doing. Besides that IEP where all the goals were written, well, you want it to be real, so then you can do that at home as well. It doesn't make any sense that you would just have send your child to school and see what happens and then he comes back. No, we want to make sure that there is that partnership. So these visual schedules are good. And then at the end here is where I mentioned that Fiddler centers are throughout the state of Florida. And if you needed to get in touch with one of our center sites, I want to make sure that you feel free to reach out to me. And I believe I can put in here in the chat, I'm going to write actually my number. And if anyone needs to get in touch with me, feel free to do so. I will gladly link you with one of our Fiddlers representatives so they can help you. And I don't know if we have time for questions, but I will gladly answer some questions. And that's my information if you want it there. And in our county, we have a parent as liaison, and her name is Mary Black, and she is able to attend IEP meetings and 504 plan meetings to support parents. So let me know if you have any questions. I apologize for all the technical difficulties we've had, but feel free to reach out to me. I would gladly be able to have a conversation with you, give you some feedback, or just answer any questions. I am bilingual, so if some of you that I have connected feel more comfortable speaking in Spanish, me pueden llamar que yo les hablo en español con mucho gusto.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much, Lisette. We appreciate it. We're away to like end our conference. We have one more person, but Lisette, you just really knocked it out of the park. We are better together. I think that has been the theme of today's conference, and you really brought that home. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Yes. All right, Pat.
So we just want to remind everybody that we will be adding these videos and additional resources to the SMORE flyer. So you'll be able to see it there. They're also going to be archived on our Family Network on Disability Facebook page, so you can go back and look at them. Thank you again also to the participants for your engagement. We've seen a lot of comments in the chats. And once again, just thank you to everyone who made this conference a success. And we look forward to continued collaboration with the agencies that presented today, and hopes to get families access to the resources, information, and support that they need.
Sorry.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And thank you for the support we have behind the scenes here. Jasmine has been great. Thank you, Tasha and Kathy, and Joe, of course, and everybody at home and at the office that supported us. And you watching that makes this all possible, and our great speakers.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.